Hello, I am Avery or Hazel or Kylie. You can just pick one, I don't care.
Hello, I am Lily.
And magic mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?
Not you.
Certainly not, I'm hideous. Anyway, welcome to From the Closet. Today we are covering Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. You can join us tomorrow for Infinity Train Season 3, and we will find out right now what you can join us next week for.
Damn,
Once
got a big train.
once that wheel loads, there we go. All right, now it's spinning and spinning and spinning. Back to the Future Part 3.
Oh, Jesus Lord. Wait, how the hell are we gonna cover? We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just tell you the same way we watched Detective Pikachu.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay. So, you can join us next week for Back to the Future Part 3 and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, The Battle for Muni.
Wait, we're that far ahead?
Yes.
Huh.
Also,
That's cool.
Star vs. Forces of Evil, Battle for Muni is releasing like 2 weeks before the actual Season 3 episode. But anyway, regarding Snow White, this podcast will contain spoilers for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. It's almost a 100-year-old movie, so if you haven't seen it by now, I don't know.
You did yourself a favor.
But anyway, there will be a link below for you to purchase, rent, or stream the movie. Our links are centered around the US, but if you use the Just Watch app, it will redirect you to your country, and if you use the website, you will be able to manually change the country on the website page.
Actually, before we get into this, do you know what episode this is, or when it's supposed to release?
I know when it's supposed to release.
Cool.
Hold up. September 26th.
Cool. I just want to know what, when we cross over to October, and you know why.
Yeah. But anyway, with all that being said, let's dig into this episode. So, before we talk about, I think, the issues that this movie has, there are some things that we absolutely have to discuss. Namely, what a technical feat this movie was. This was
That is true.
Yeah, this was not only Disney's first animated movie, this was the first ever full-length, traditionally animated movie. Ever.
Honestly, when it comes to animation, it does hold up really well. Just animation-wise.
Yeah, just in terms of animation, it holds up quite well. Storytelling, it's got some issues. But yeah, it cannot be understated how much of a big deal this was.
As imagine when it was first released, how was the general reception of, movies like this?
I can't say I know for sure, because this movie was released during the Great Depression. How many people even got an opportunity to see it when it first released? Of course, we're talking back then, and of course, this was long before home video, so movies would often get replayed in theaters years, even decades after they came out. So chances are a lot of people saw this in theaters.
Because that was the only place to watch it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, now this is the first Disney movie. What is the second?
I can't remember. I want to say Fantasia. Um, I could be wrong on that.
1 second. I'm looking up a list now.
But anyway, so with that part out of the way,
Pinocchio. It's
uh,
Pinocchio.
okay. With that part out of the way, we can talk about some of the issues this movie has. And it's got a couple. For one, there are, once again, some underlying tones of misogyny. I feel like we've been here before, recently.
Yeah. Though, I mean, like you said, this movie is almost 100 years old.
Yeah. Actually, I wouldn't even call these underlying tones of misogyny. Grumpy is just a straight up misogynist.
I thought Grumpy was all he was. Grumpy. Also, I mean, their names are the definition of their emotions. Like, really?
I mean, that's pretty similar to the Brothers Grimm version. Like, that's not something we can blame Disney for, I don't think. But I can blame Disney for the misogyny. Another thing I can blame Disney for is writing the story in such a way that Prince Florian just, like, in a way where Prince Florian is violating consent, because the dwarves so Snow White, she bites a poisoned apple. The dwarves think she's dead. Prince Florian thinks she's dead. He doesn't know that the spell that she can be revived with love's first kiss. So, like, he's just coming up and it's like, oh, that's that girl I sang to one time. Smooch.
So there's something I just want to briefly say. Like, in all intents and purposes, is it a crime to kiss a corpse? A person that is completely dead?
Whether or not
And
it's
that's
a
such a
crime,
weird question to ask.
Whether or not it's a crime, it's still completely weird.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm just like, such a weird question to ask, but like, I don't know, where's the morals behind kissing something that'll never move again?
Okay, let's put it to you this way. They don't have a relationship at this point. They really don't.
Oh, yeah.
They met once, and even then, it wasn't great. Like, she's singing to herself. He surprises her. She runs off. He starts singing to her randomly. Guys, don't do this. This does not work on women.
I'm sorry, who the hell is singing to women and hoping that would work?
You'd be surprised. But
I guess I would.
yeah, so he sings to her and she kind of responds to it. And that's pretty much it. Like, they don't know anything about each other. And Snow White's like, oh, he's the one for me. And I'm like, bruh, you don't even know his name. If you just watch this movie, you still don't know his name unless you look it up.
Wait, he actually has a name?
Yes, his name is Prince Florian.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Also, I just the what did she call the stepmother? It's like, my child is the fairest of all the land. Grabs axe. Well, time to murder.
For real. And like, okay, so that the whole thing with like, they don't have a relationship. So for one, it for one, the fact that she's alive, she didn't consent to being kissed. So there's that. But even if
I'm sorry, that is
even if
just
she was dead and was actually a corpse, they never had a relationship. So kissing her is still fucking weird.
sorry. I thought she never consented. For being alive, she never consented. Sorry, that just made me laugh a little bit. Never consented to be alive.
But yeah, okay, so I think that's the big issue. Consent is key, and this movie walks that
That's a lot.
line way too close, and I think steps over it. Um,
Either way, and let's just, if you throw that out for just a couple minutes here, Snow White is going on like, he's the one for me. Like, bitch, you met him on, you've been in the presence of him for like 5-10 minutes.
for real.
And then you're going, oh, and the prince, which, by the way, now he better go to the store and buy more screen time because he got none of it.
For real. Like and like the other thing too is like there's this whole relationship, and then there's the fact that like all 7 of the dwarves very clearly have a crush on her.
Yeah.
And that's
also another creepy thing.
yeah.
How old are the dwarfs? Do I want to know?
We don't know, and well, we might know, but I don't want to look it up. So
I don't really want to look it up either.
Yeah, so we're just gonna breeze on past that one. So the songs in this movie, okay, I think most of the songs are boring, but
Yeah.
the ones sung by the dwarves are catchy and can get stuck in your head. That I will say. But yeah, like those were fun. Also, regarding the animation, I think a lot of the time the story kind of took a back seat so the animators could show off, which is fair enough. But
yeah, I can definitely. It's a more appealing movie for the eyes.
yeah, and then like I definitely noticed what they were doing with sound design, and sound design is typically one of those things where like it's better if you don't notice, but at the same
Yeah.
time I don't know if that was just me having filmmaker brain on, or genuinely I would have noticed regardless. But at the very least, some of the sound design choices they made were quite funny. But yeah, I think we will actually be seeing Snow White again at some point in the podcast, because I think
Really?
she's in. Yeah, I think she's in Ralph Breaks the Internet.
That movie.
Yeah.
What, does she not get her own series?
We are not like it. Even if she did get her own series, we're not doing it. Because
I don't know it.
Because frankly, I don't want to. But yeah, obviously the original fairy tale is much darker because it's by the Brothers Grimm. I don't know much about it, I just know it's darker because it has to
Yeah, it
be.
wasn't. Um, I think even like the Frozen had an original fairy tale attached to it, in where Elsa dies.
I think I would have liked that version better because I hated Frozen. Um, it's just kind of weird to think like where Disney started and where they are now, because like Snow White and Encanto could not be more different.
No.
Because like, oh my god, like hell, how do a lot of the time they're not really doing fairy tales anymore. They kind of have run out, to be fair. Um, and also, I think a lot of people are tired of them meddling with public domain stuff.
Hmm. I guess it makes sense.
Yeah. Um, but this was the first. How do you feel about this movie?
Um, I mean, I've said it before. Animation is really great. I have no idea what just the sound of her goddamn voice. All of nature is like, oh hey, what up?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And like you messaged me yesterday when you were watching this movie, saying something like, "Oh, it looks like no one's home. Time to commit. Time to do some breaking and entering." And I'm like, I didn't know you were watching the movie at that point in time, and I was just like, "What, Lily?"
Oh wait, isn't that time where you were asleep?
Yeah, but like after I woke up and like
Yeah.
saw the messages, I was just like, "Huh?"
Oh fuck. Yeah, and that's another thing about this movie. Cinderella feels. Wait, did I say Cinderella? Snow White feels like she can do whatever the hell she wants, and then she just give a nice smile. It's like, and it was like, oh, I forgive you.
Yeah, for real. Um, and then like I don't know. There's some there's there's another thing too that I just got reminded of. There's a particular bit of dialogue in this movie that bothers me. There's it's like you would
Hmm.
think their mother would. Wait a minute, maybe they don't have a mother. That means they're orphans. And I'm like, oh, I guess fathers don't exist.
I guess not. Actually, yeah. Now that I think about it, 100 years ago, or just about, you know, the tradition. Would it be like, the father rules the household, or something like that?
Yeah, but still, like the definition of orphan didn't like it was still the same back then. Like
Yeah.
if someone only had a father, they weren't an orphan.
I mean, I guess the other thing is, there's a more children than, I don't know, mothers, or actually adults beds. Of course, we wouldn't learn that until, I think, a little bit later.
Yeah.
But of course, this house was built to be for the dwarfs.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of get the sense that maybe they built it themselves.
I mean, they are minors. Who knows what else they can do?
Yeah, for real. And they mine for diamonds and they live in a small thing like that.
I'm wondering where the hell, like, where they sell all of that stuff?
I wonder
Do
if
they sell it?
yeah, excuse I need to know what's going on with these diamonds that they're seemingly not doing anything with.
Also, a lot of those didn't even look like diamonds. You had some like emeralds, maybe some rubies, but not really diamond.
Yeah, and then the only thing we ever see them do with any precious materials is the coffin that they make for Snow White was made out of glass and gold.
I mean, I must say it was a nice coffin.
And they also didn't bury her. Um, I gotta say, regarding the Queen, it is some form of poetic justice that she became so envious of her stepdaughter and so jealous of her beauty that in her attempts to kill her, she ended up dying herself.
Yeah, though of course we have one of the first Disney's infamous falling to death.
Oh yeah.
We're gonna get a lot. We're gonna get to more of that.
Yeah, we got it
One of my
already well, I guess she didn't really fall to death entangled, but she fell while she was dying.
I think that was in the maybe category. Like she fell to her death, but something else was also causing the death as well.
Well, I mean, she was very clearly already dead long before her cloak even touched the ground. So,
Yeah, but she would have definitely died of that fall, especially in the position that she was falling.
yeah, but we're talking about a different movie. I guess spoilers for Tangled, but yeah,
I mean, I was gonna say,
if you haven't watched our Tangled episode, you can find it in the playlist, which if you're listening to this on YouTube is in the description. If you're not, just click on the name of the podcast.
I was gonna say another, timeless classic and one of my favorite memes. No one falls like Gaston.
uh, but yeah, we'll definitely be doing Beauty and the Beast at some point and its remake. And okay, so this movie has a bajillion remakes. We're not doing them.
Yeah, when it's enough.
Yeah, sorry, but no, I just don't want to.
If you're looking forward to that, sorry to disappoint. I
But
don't know why. I don't know why if you were looking forward to that, why?
but yeah, another thing too about this movie is this movie has one of the famous cases of the Mandela Effect, where the actual quote is "magic mirror on the wall," and a lot of people misremember it as "mirror mirror on the wall."
Huh. Yeah,
And
yeah, you're right.
I recently learned some other stuff about the Mandela Effect. Some people take it to some wild ass conspiracy theories of parallel universes and alternate timelines. And I'm like, bro, stop. It ain't that deep.
Correct me if I'm wrong, the Mandela Effect is just, and as it's stated, something that's wrong, like just slightly incorrect, it gets shared, and then, word of mouth or whatever have you, getting
It's just
quoted and quoted, and then just everyone starts misremembering it.
it's just some famous thing that a lot of people misremember in a very specific way. Um,
Hmm.
like there's a lot of well-known examples. There's this one. There's the Luke, I am your father. The actual line is no, I am your father. There's
Yeah.
whether or not Pikachu, like the end of Pikachu's tail is black. It's not. Um,
Yeah.
there's just a lot of stuff like that. Like, does the Monopoly guy have a monocle? Um, does the end of the song "We Are the Champions" say "of the world"? It doesn't. And also, the Monopoly guy does not have a monocle.
I mean, he should have a monocle.
Yes, he should, because it's cool.
I should get a monocle.
No, you shouldn't.
Don't tell me what to do.
I will tell you what to do.
Fine. Anyway, more about this movie.
So, did you see this movie as a kid, or like had you seen it at all before this podcast episode?
If I did, I don't remember.
Yeah. So I used to own this movie on VHS.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, I watched it a few times as a kid, like a fair number of times, but like it was never one of my favorites. I think at one point Beauty and the Beast was like my favorite movie. Um, and now I haven't seen it in so goddamn long. We're gonna have to cover that. I think at another point Sleeping Beauty was one of my favorites. And see, now I'm trying to remember which character Prince Charming was. Was he the prince from Sleeping Beauty or was he the prince from Cinderella? And I can't remember.
Oh, shit.
I'm pretty sure the prince from
Cinderella.
I'm pretty sure the prince from like the Little Mermaid was named Eric or something like that. But yeah, like
these movies get confusing.
I mean, I know people who thought like all of these Disney princes were called Prince Charming from the beginning. Like, we even watched a clip from Cinema Therapy where one of the guys also thought they were all called Prince Charming early on.
Yeah.
I mean, the only one that it would be very weird if you thought his name was Prince Charming is Aladdin. And even he's not that early because that was a 90s movie.
Thinking the Beauty and the Beast was even a prince. And I guess absolutely rejected and then fell to death.
But I want to say the Beast was actually named Adam.
Huh.
I'm not sure about that though. And wait, no, I was about to say Adam means bull, but no, it doesn't. It means red. And when we get to covering Ruby, you'll understand why I thought that at first.
Okay then. Cryptic.
Yeah, it's something to look forward to for you and for our 4 listeners.
There's at least 5.
Is there?
Probably.
But yeah, I think with this movie, it hasn't aged the best, but it also hasn't aged nearly as terribly as, say, The Parent Trap.
Yeah, that aged horribly.
Yeah, like that movie literally fucking aged like milk that was left out in the sun for 24 hours and then put in the fridge for 30 years.
No, that aged. No, that aged as fast as that Rose did in Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
But yeah, this
Just
movie
ended.
this movie, there's not too many things about it that age quite horribly. I'm not. It doesn't really bother me that Disney still has it on their streaming service because it's just like, yeah, like I'd kind of be okay with kids watching this if like their parents also like instill in them that consent is key when it comes to relationships because you could
Mm-hmm.
very you could get the wrong idea with this movie, and I think that's the big problem.
Though I mean, there's oh my god, that it reminds me of like all these boycotts of where Disney is using the legacy of nice family movies to instill the leftist agenda on your kids or whatever have you.
Yeah, I'd love to see someone try
It's-
to justify that when they won't even like actually do decent LGBT representation in a main movie. Like the best LGBT representation we're getting out of Disney is either from the Owl House or the MCU. And I'm going to be honest, the MCU representation ain't there yet. What we've gotten is great so far, but it ain't there yet.
um, I mean, there's also people that apparently cannot tell the difference between Disney and Pixar. And then, Pixar has, I mean, God forbid, two people of the same genders kissing in one scene. My
Yeah.
God.
And then some people over in like Malaysia decided that means the movie deserves an 18 plus rating. I'm like, nobody in their right mind can watch that movie and think, yeah, only adults should be allowed to see this.
But Avery, the kids will think differently and not have traditional family values. Oh my God. Even saying that last sentence I just said rotted my brain.
Yeah, homophobes don't make sense, and they never have. But yeah, with all that being said, I'm gonna look at the critic ratings for this movie.
Yeah, I feel like we've definitely ran out of things to say about this movie.
Yeah, I took screenshots of them a second. Here we go. Okay, so only two things showed up this time, but IMDb gives it a 7.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 98%. And 83% of Google users like this movie. Um,
So I'm not gonna sugarcoat this. I like it for what it is, but for what it is, it's hasn't aged. The story hasn't aged particularly well, and the animation has aged perfectly. And for the complete viewer experience, I'm gonna have to give it like 7 out of 10.
yeah, I was thinking something similar because, like, I didn't want to undersell uh, how much of a technical marvel that this was at the time, and how basically every animated movie to ever come after it followed up on what this movie did. Um, and I think, the next movie that would be anywhere near as influential as this one is Toy Story. Um, in terms of like what the movies like do for animation in general.
I mean, this movie, Toy Story, you hear evolution, you know, proceeds at a slow rate, and then every, couple times it just rapidly accelerates. It's the same thing in um, technology. These
Also,
two movies,
go ahead.
advanced the industry centuries ahead.
Yeah. Also, we have covered Toy Story. You can check that one out. It's somewhere in the playlist. But yeah, I think
Wow,
with
how many plugs have we did in this podcast?
at least one.
Thank you. Ever so helpful.
But yeah, so I think with all of that being said, with how much of a technical thing that this was to achieve, and considering how certain aspects of this movie, like certain aspects of this movie's story, have not aged the best, I think I'm going to agree with you on this. It gets a 7.0 from me as well.
Well, I think we're ready to close out.
Yeah. So until next time, I've been Avery. That's been Lily. And hi ho, it's home from work we go.